During the past few days, the Russian armed forces in Ukraine have changed up their objectives. Bakhmut here is still under pressure, of course, but now new pressure point has been Avdiivka, actually, north from Donetsk city. Russian assaults on this settlement have increased many folds. Some analysts speculate that the Russians couldn't take Bakhmut, now they're trying Avdiivka. Maybe they will find a Ukrainian weak spot there. I don't think they'll find it. As you can even see on the map, Avdiivka and Bakhmut are in a very similar situation. Both of them are almost surrounded on three sides actually. Of course, the situation in Bakhmut is worse because half of the city is under Russian control, maybe a little bit less than half, as you can see from the map. Russians have not though been able to penetrate into Avdiivka city. Today we will watch many videos because there's so many great videos coming from Anton Kerachenko, Dmitry aka War Translated, so many good ones, we cannot skip them, so prepare yourself and get your popcorn. But before, let's talk about a little about the future the spring counteroffensive Ukraine is going to do. There are talks about 3 Ukrainian reserve armies, each army containing up to 20,000 troops. These 3 armies are not deployed to the front, they're in the reserves. But what would be the offensive plan? Well, I would think from Guilapolia they would go towards Mariupol, or they would go towards Berdyansk because it is one of the biggest ports in the southern Ukraine, and Russians are using this port very heavily to transport their armor onto the fronts. Or they could actually go from Guilapolia to Melitopol, which is one of the biggest cities in the area and also a very important transport hub. All of these options are possible. No one actually knows where they will strike. They might strike each and every one of these access points. These are the most likely goals of offensives. I think we can all agree that the goal of this offensive is to split the land bridge between mainland Russia and Crimea into 2. With this you also split the Russian logistics and transport lines into 2. You cut them. We will later watch Prigozhin's idea of the Ukrainian spring counteroffensive, but I think with 60,000 troops in reserves and tens of thousands of troops in the fronts in the south right now, we're talking about a force close to 100,000. I think with this force you will penetrate the Russian lines and cut this land bridge to Crimea in 2. Russian media is filled with the Ukrainian counteroffensive plans and speculations where will they attack. There are even talks of Ukrainian attacking some Russian borderland oblasts to trade territory later. These are all of course speculations and fears, but this means that Ukrainian information operations have been very successful. If there is fear in the Russian media space, that means there is no clear thought. That means Ukrainians will have the element of surprise. Russians have published these pictures of nets over their trenches to protect them from Ukrainian drones. I can see them working actually, but only if the drone has a contact fuse, meaning that it will blow up when in contact with a hard surface. Yes, these nets will stop these drones, and it's not a speculation, we've seen them actually work. About a few months ago, I remember reacting to a video where a Ukrainian net over a Ukrainian artillery system saved this system from a Russian drone which got stuck into the net. But these nets will not stop grenades or munitions dropped from drones hovering above that don't have contact fuses, or their munitions are heavy enough to penetrate through the net, which, you know, 81mm definitely is. Also, even if a munition explodes next to the net, it blows a hole into it, the next one can go through it. I see a limited potential on these nets, and also time and cost effectiveness of them is very low because putting them up over every trench Russia has, it's extremely time costly and extremely costly money-wise, so it has no point. Maybe in the most heavily attacked areas they make sense. But yes, they do work in a very limited way. I have always wanted to see the insides of a trench where Ukrainian soldiers live, because we have seen the trench lines where they fight, but they don't actually sleep there. Usually there's a separate dugout for sleeping. I haven't seen any of those yet, and now we have a video. I want to see it. I want to see how comfy they've been able to make their living conditions there. Video comes from Anton Kerachenko, link in the description below.
У зв'язку з повномасштабним контрнаступом, який очікується найближчим часом, оголошується продаж бліндажа класа еліт. Відкриваємо двері, попадаємо в передпокій. Так, це місце для удару головою. Далі тут у нас файна табуреточка, щоб перевзутися.
This is already comfy in the war zone. You can sit and take off your boots, or if you can even go inside and hide from the rain or snow or cold, it's already very good. I'm hoping they also have a stove in it.
Бачимо гламурну шторку і проходимо далі. Так, одразу попадаємо в вітальню. Що у нас є вітальня? Перший на всій лінії розмежування – камін. У всіх групках в цьому бліндажі – камін.
They do have a stove.
Набридло?
Okay, this is next level. This is a crib. This is pimped up crib. You can heat it up. It's gonna be 21 degrees. You can be inside comfy. Take off your shoes. It's clean. It has wood on the sides. Most frontline soldiers don't get these luxury. I think there has been a passionate builder soldier in here somewhere.
Закрили. Фіншуй і краса. Далі. Умивальник.
There is a sink even. What the hell?
Дзеркало. Поголитися. Не в моєму випадку, звичайно. Так. І гардеробна. Висять речі, все як має бути. Так. Місце спальня. Комфортне, довге, широке. Гостьова зона. Не для багатьох гостей, але є. Робоча зона може бути. Далі, полички.
Working area where you can drop munitions on the enemy. And also look at they have electricity in here. What are we talking about? This is not a trench line. This is a luxury apartment on the front line, honestly.
Для інтернету тут є все. Денний інтернет.
Okay, take it like a joke. I'm guessing there's no other trench dugout like this in Ukraine. There's only one, and it's this one. Because this has too much. It has everything you need. There's Wi-Fi, for Christ's sake.
Бліндажі. Додаткова електроенергія присутня в повному обсязі. До речі, всі комунікації, житло заведені. Так, картинна галерея, не без цього. В кожному бліндажі, в якому живе поважаючий себе військовий, є картинна галерея. Далі. Шафа купе знаходиться отут, схована. Все, у ланчбоксах. Зручно.
Okay, what I have to say is it's very cool to see this, but honestly, I can say this is probably on a front line area that doesn't have Russian attacks, because otherwise they would not have time to do this. Making this stuff takes time. If you have enemy attacking or you're expecting an attack, you don't have time to do this. I'm glad they did it, but probably it's not realistic or doable in a frontline trench where you're expecting an assault. But it's pretty to watch, and I would hope every soldier gets this.
Також в бліндажі впроваджена система
It's not realistic, unfortunately. Cheers.
Вмикається з пульта.
They have time to put the LEDs
Не
up.
треба вставати з ліжка, щоб включити чи виключити світло.
My God.
З бліндажу можна приготувати собі поїсти або попити каву. Також не виходячи з бліндажу можна зайнятися спортом. І знаходячись на відпочинку, ви все одно продовжуєте бути на зв'язку. Мешкання розташоване в історичній місцині, краю, де славетні воїни багато сторіч тому започаткували традицію рубати русню, яка лізе на нашу землю.
I love it just for the fact that it exists, and I feel a little bit sad that every soldier couldn't have this as a standard, because if they could, I would promise their fighting capabilities wouldn't go down. Usually when a soldier goes to the front or frontline trench, 3 days they spend there, and after that, statistically, their fighting capabilities go down like that. It doesn't matter which kind of a man it is, what's their training, that's the statistics. 3 days, and after that, it's gonna go down. If you live like that, if you live in peak luxury like that on the front, you spend there 3 days, your fighting capabilities are going up like that. You're gonna become Superman mentally, because you're resting good, you have electricity, you have a picture gallery. What more do you want, right? As I said, my friends, we have many videos to watch today because so much has happened and there's perfect content for it. I have to do it. So the next video is Russian propaganda, of course. Do you have your popcorn? Because we have Solovyov. I don't know if you saw the videos, but there are videos of Russian trained echelons of tanks. But they're not the tanks from 60s. That we saw a few months ago. These tanks are T-54s and T-55s. They are Stalin-era tanks, and they're being pulled out of the museums, put on trains, and transported somewhere. I'm not gonna say they're being transported to the front because I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't believe Russians would do this. But these are the videos. And now we see Russian propagandists reacting to these videos. Video comes from Dmitry, aka War Translated. Link in the description below.
Тут стали говорить про танки Т-54, какой-то эшелон.
Вот ролик появился в интернете
покажем,
о том, что эшелон танков...
Look at it! These are T-54s. These tanks should be in a museum or on a pedestal. I mean, Russia has this style of putting T-34 on a pedestal like monument. I mean, these are not better. You cannot go into battle with these things. And this tells us how much Russia is lacking. They don't have tens of thousands of tanks if they're taking T-54s out of the museum. They wouldn't do this if they wouldn't be lacking. So if I hear anybody right now saying, oh, Russia hasn't even put into use their main tank forces yet, They should watch this video. Relics being transported.
4Т-55 движется в каком-то направлении, и, значит, очень неуместные шутки, что будем скоро 34-ки снимать с постаментов.
Yeah, well, from the pedestals, because I've seen no other country do it, but in the Soviet Union, T-34s, the tanks that were used to beat the Nazi Germany, they're put in pedestals in every Soviet city as a Soviet victory reminder. There was also, the last one in Estonia was removed actually about half a year ago. It was in Narva, the border city, a T-34. We took it away because for us it symbolizes occupation and all of the bad things that came with it. And now they're talking these tanks from these pedestals, these museums, these monuments should be taken down and put onto the trains.
Понадобиться будем. Мы танками на постаментах бронетанковую дивизию сможем укомплектовать. Когда у всех уже все закончится, а у нас еще этот задел, точно такой же задел Советского Союза наших отцов едет сейчас. И он прикалываться над этим нет смысла.
They are salty that people are making jokes about taking T-34s. Well, maybe the Russian Ministry of Defense shouldn't use T-54s and T-55s then if they don't want these jokes. Even the propagandists are having a hard time defending their own country if this crap is going on in the background. Because this is ridiculous. For any standard, for any military, this is ridiculous. In a historic moment, Finland has opened its skies, its airspace for NATO surveillance missions, allowing the allies to monitor Russian activities more closely. The first surveillance flight in the Finnish airspace was conducted by a United States surveillance plane on 23rd of March. The flight involved both manned and unmanned aircraft. It is a historic moment. I mean, I feel safer already in Estonia if I know NATO surveillance planes are up in the Finnish airspace. I feel like there's another line of defense for us Estonians, and there is. The Baltic Sea will be the internal sea of NATO when Finland and Sweden join, and the airspace is already open. The NATO-Russian border just extended about 1,000 kilometers into Finland. I know you guys have missed Prigozhin. I also miss him, and I miss his drunken voice, always rambling about something, always agitated. So today I have it for you. A long Prigozhin video where he claims he knows the Ukrainian spring counteroffensive plans. And he lays them out for us. Let's watch it. It's a peak entertainment. Video comes from Dmitry, aka War Translated.
Что делает противник? У нас наступает весна. Почва сохнет.
Again, he's so serious. He's usually drunk and rambling, and now he has glasses, he has a map. He's trying to change up his image, I think.
Ветер дует, температура плюс там 15-18 градусов. И поэтому все располагает к тому, чтобы можно было на тяжелой технике кататься, начать по полям. Украинцы получили большое количество, очень большое количество натовской различной техники, различные бронированные машины, танки, леопарды, про которые все разговаривают и все обсуждают и так далее. И
I almost feel like I'm watching my own video right now. He's a military blogger. He's explaining what the Ukrainians have as Prigozhin, as the most powerful private army in Ukraine. What the hell?
Резервов, уточнимся попозже, но порядка там
200,000, right? See, I called out the number 100,000, 3 armies in reserve plus the frontline units, so 100,000. But Prigozhin has the information of 200,000. If true, I'm happy to believe it. I hope they have even more.
200 тысяч человек резервов. Что будут делать украинцы? Наглядно. Значит, украинцы будут их концентрировать в различных местах. И у них будет стоять несколько задач, которые...
Okay, we just talked about the counteroffensive lines, when they will happen.
Которые они будут, собственно говоря, достигать. Если мы идем с севера на юг, первый удар вероятный, который они постараются нанести, они постараются выйти на территорию Белгорода.
Right. Prigozhin is one of them with the Russian media that states that Ukraine is trying to attack Belgorod to exchange that for some area later, because it is easier to attack Belgorod than to attack Crimea. Crimea is very difficult to attack, actually. It is easier to attack Belgorod than some southern Ukrainian areas. So if they could attack some you know, areas that are easier to take and exchange them. I can see this logic, but I would never believe they would do it because Ukraine cannot do anything on their own. They have to talk with the Western allies that are supplying them, and NATO would not go with it. NATO wouldn't let it fly. That's what I think, at least. NATO would not be okay. USA would not be okay with Ukraine striking the Russian soil.
Белгород, для того, чтобы Белгород стал хорошей разменной картой для давления на Российскую Федерацию, и поэтому границу вдоль Белгорода, между Белгородом и Харьковом, нужно укреплять как можно лучше, и она должна быть фактически непроницаемая. Надеюсь, что так оно и есть. Значит, второе, с севера на юг, что они будут делать? Они будут, безусловно, пытаться разорвать линию Сватово-Кременная для того, чтобы выйти к Валуйкам. И третье, они будут концентрироваться на Бахмуте. Значит, чуть поподробнее о Бахмуте, а после этого можно еще более подробно. Для того, чтобы нанести, грубо говоря, удар российским подразделениям.
You know what? From now on, when I say where my sources are, I've said when I get my information, I'm just gonna say I get it from Prigozhin. He's a full-out military blogger now.
Для того, чтобы определенным образом деморализовать войска и иметь хорошее преимущество, а кроме этого не дать сделать то, что планирует абсолютно стратегически верно Министерство обороны, это после взятия Бахмута открыть глубокий оперативный простор. И если вы смотрите на карту, то смотрите, вот эта вот линия у нас соприкосновения сегодняшняя, да, вот это вот максимальная концентрация боевых действий на сегодняшний день у Бахмута. А вот это вот у нас вот глубокий оперативный простор, да? Вот там до Днепра у нас такие поля сплошные. И, собственно говоря, до Европы тоже можно прямо, если ты птица, желательно перелетная в одну сторону, то тогда можно лететь прямо аж до на Эйфелеву башню. Вот. Но на сегодняшний день противник сосредоточил группировку.
Yeah, that's like 3 armies, the group of 60,000, he says 80. That's the information, plus minus 20,000 troops. I mean, that is a huge variation of numbers, but still near Bakhmut, near Eastern Front, Ukrainians have these 3 reserve armies up to 60,000 troops. And Prigozhin has this information. And I don't know why he's making this video. Why talk about it like that? I mean, he is against this counteroffensive. Is it to let the Ukrainians know that he knows about the plan? But it doesn't change anything. Why does he want to show himself as on the right side of the information, that he knows this information? Why make this video?
80 с лишним тысяч. Эта группировка вокруг Бахмута, она находится в Северске, в Славянске, в Краматорске, в Дружевке, в Константиновке и в Часов-Яре. Вот таким вот кольцом. И вот эта вот вся история, она и есть элемент Донбасского кольца, после которого идут сплошные поля. Поэтому у украинцев основная задача удержать эти рубежи. И пользуясь тем, что они эти рубежи удерживают, перемещение у них здесь достаточно хорошо налажено, пойти дальше, попробовать подрезать подразделение ЧВК «Вагнер». Я уже говорил об этом месяц назад, еще раз повторяю. Подразделения ЧВК «Вагнер», они вот так вот обхватывают группировку ВСУ в Бахмуте, все сжимают и сжимают, а задача группировки...
Yeah, he talked about encircling Bakhmut about a month or 2 ago, and this still hasn't happened. It's not possible to happen, because Bakhmut is surrounded by fields from the Ukrainian side. To fully surround Bakhmut, Russians or Wagner would have to advance on fields many kilometers, which are under constant Ukrainian army surveillance. The artillery positions have been fired in. They know the exact coordinates where to shoot. The trench lines, the defensive lines have been set up. It is impossible. I will call it. It is impossible for them to surround Bakhmut. It is possible to very slowly take the city with the high losses, which they are doing right now. But to surround the city, nah. It cannot happen.
ВСУ в это время обхватить подразделение ЧВК «Вагнер». Как только они вырезают ЧВК «Вагнер» приблизительно вот из такого кусочка, то дальше уже у них открывается дырка там в 30-40 километров, в которой они могут проникать, насачиваться и вот эта вот третья серия ударов, которые они будут пытаться сделать, они пойдут по нескольким направлениям сразу. Это у них будет снизу, пойдут на Лисичанск-Северск, Дебальцево, Луганск, пытаясь разрезать ЛНР, ДНР фактически на две части. И испорчу карту, да, вот у них направление первого удара.
Honestly, here I don't agree with him. He's talking about the counteroffensive that goes into eastern Ukraine to cut the Donetsk and Luhansk into two, right? The war has been going on there from 2014. These areas are very well, unfortunately, very well defended by the Russians, and the defensive positions have been built up for 8 years. I think if Ukraine counterattacks, it's coming from the southern front, not around Kherson. No, I don't think they're gonna cross or force the Dnieper. I think from Guilyapolya. Apologize about the names, I'm saying them wrong. But yes, like to Mariupol or to Berdyansk port or to Melitopol. I don't think they're gonna attack from the east and force these very well built up Russian defensive lines. They could do it, but I'm surprised if they do. Because they're gonna carry a lot of losses there.
Вот у них направление второго удара. Вот у них направление группы третьего удара, то, о чем мы хорошо знаем.
See, the subtitles are on it right now, but this here where my mouse is, this is Donetsk city and Bakhmut, and this line here is pretty well built out. It is quite hard to go over or penetrate this line. Here it's a different story from Kharkiv to attack east. These lines have been built here for half a year perhaps, and they're not that strongly built. But this line here, Bakhmut to south, and then cut this in two, like he said, it's possible, but it's gonna be very costly in manpower. Attacking south, that would be, you would gain more ground by losing fewer men. I would think they would go from south.
Дальше, безусловно, они будут пытаться, концентрируясь в Днепре, выйти на запорожское направление и сделать также несколько ударов.
See, these two lines of access, these I can believe, these I think would be plausible, but attacking from the east, I don't know.
В районе Запорожья, для того, чтобы выйти на Бердянск, Мелитополь и Мариуполь. Самым блокировать Крым. Здесь у нас старая карта распечатана, я извиняюсь, да, вот с границы здесь вдоль Крыма. В общем, их задача блокировать Крым. После этого, вероятнее всего, они постараются разобраться с крымским...
I mean, let's be honest, if they do attack from the south, take Melitopol, Berdyansk or Mariupol, this Kerch bridge right here, it will be destroyed. It will be just damaged, or there will be another attack. I mean, if Ukraine recontrols Mariupol, then this bridge will no longer exist, I think.
Мостом и тем самым продавить ситуацию до границ 91 года.
Now, my friends, I want to thank the Patreons. These are the people who make it possible for me to do these videos, because it's a military channel. Some videos get demonetized, so Patreons keep me afloat. I'll read you 5 new names and I'll butcher the name with my Estonian pronunciation. Brendan Eugen Karsten Roth-Hermel, Michele, Timothy Maken, Frank D. Thank you to these 5 people. If you like my channel, then the Patreon link is in the description below. Also subscribe to the channel. And as always, my friends, until my next video, Slava Ukraini.